going on YouTube? This is Jarrell Flint, author of the book Hold Back, the Consumer's Playbook for Buying a Car. Currently available on the iBook store for your iPhone and iPad. Working on getting that into the Kindle store for all the Kindle users, or if you want to use the Kindle app or whatever. I'm trying to give 1 million copies of that book away by the end of the summer, or 1 million downloads rather. So if you're in the market for the car, or a car, or will be soon, or know somebody that will, click the link in the description, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. On this particular video, we're going to be talking about points on interest, and this is going to be a major video because a lot of people don't really understand how points on interest work. They don't understand how to negotiate the interest rate. So whether you're an experienced car buyer and you've been doing it for years, or whether you're looking to buy your first car, this is a video that will help you and will give you some information, some ammunition to arm yourself so that you can make a better informed buying decision, because that's what the goal of this whole hold back thing is about, is empowering the consumer. This is what I consider my community service to the people. So let's get right into it. This right here is an internal document. You'll never really see this unless it's just laying on somebody's desk or anything like that. This isn't anything that you would have to sign. Actually, the dealership wouldn't even want you to see this particular information. This is what the finance department would submit to the lending institution when they're trying to get you approved. So as you can see, everything is blacked out, but this is an actual internal document. This is from an actual deal. So what you have here, you got two columns. You got the decision column. You got the application column. We're going to start on the application column. Take a look at the financed amount. Financed amount is $35,900, right? That's how much the car was on the dealership's lot. Cash down is what the customer said he had to put down, $1,500. Got your total monthly payment, term, all of that's kind of really irrelevant right now because they were just trying to submit it to see what happened. You got the stated book value. That's basically equipment on the car that increases the value. So navigation, heated seats, panoramic sunroof, things like that, parking sensors, all of that contributes to how the car books out, right? We're going to go over to the decision column now, right? This is what the bank came back with. Now, first notice, it was submitted at $35,900. The bank is saying, nope, we're only going to finance the car for $32,349 and 41 cents. Now, the dealership isn't going to just discount the car, the $3,000 and some change that it is. The customer's going to have to come up with that money down. That's just typically how it's going to work. Every now and again, they might meet you in the middle, something like that. But again, this isn't something that you would really see. But if you have bad credit, or maybe you're upside down on your car, you're going to have to come up with some money down. In this particular situation, the bank wasn't going to finance that amount, so more money needed to be put down by the customer. Now, as you can see, cash down still remained at $1,500, but that's the bank basically saying, well, if you discount the car, the 3,000 and some change, he can do $1,500, but the dealership isn't going to do that. So that's why the cash down amount didn't change. But there's another form I'm going to show you with the cash that was put down, right? So then you got your monthly payment. You got your term, you got your book value, that's the same. Now, most important thing about this video right here that you'll need to remember, buy rate. What is buy rate? Buy rate is the interest rate that the bank will approve the consumer at, the bare minimum. So what this means is that at 18.5%, that's what the bank is saying they would approve this particular customer. Discount is really irrelevant. You don't need to know about that. But max participation, that's just a fancy way of saying markup, points on interest. This is saying that the dealership can charge an additional point, or even the dealership could charge an additional half point if they wanted to. Typically, they'll do it in halves or whole points. Theoretically, they could do a 0.75 point if they wanted to, but typically you'll see a half a point or a whole point. And then you have dealer flat. Here's the best way to understand that. If the dealership got you financed at 18.5%, that 18.51%, they would make a flat $300 from this particular lending institution. But If they're able to contract you at the higher interest rate, a half of a point jump or a whole point, which is the max participation, and let's say they get you at the 19.51%, they're going to get additional commission because the bank is saying, we're going to give you $300 just for bringing the loan to us, for bringing the business to us at 18.51. But if you can get them closed at, or her closed at 19.51, you can make additional money. That's what that means. And so it is essential that you ask these two questions if you're allowing the dealership to get you finance. What is the buy rate? How many points are you charging me? Those are the two questions. Write those two questions down. Remember those two questions. Because if the dealership refuses to give you that information, that should be a red flag because that is a lack of transparency. Now, let me go ahead and make this disclaimer right now. I believe in capitalism. I believe in fair profit. However, I don't believe in the unfair implementation of this practice. I don't believe in the discriminatory implementation of this practice. And if you do a quick Google search about this, there have been settlements with banks and consumers in the past where this practice of marking up interest rates has been basically implemented unfairly, and certain parties of people have had to pay more interest because of these markups than other groups of people. And I'll include a link to that particular story in the description. And in the same article, the government has recently lifted restrictions or limitations protecting consumers from the discriminatory aspect of this practice. So again, that's another motivation for me to make this video. But again, I believe in fair profit. But as the consumer, my message to you as the consumer, this is business, right? I'm not going to feel bad about giving you this information. And if anybody in the car industry tries to make me feel bad about giving you this information, I am not. Because at the end of the day, this is business. I'm trying to empower the consumer. You understand? So basically, when you're negotiating, don't be afraid to ask these types of questions. Don't be afraid to ask what's the buy rate. And if they give you an attitude or give you a hard time about asking that question, then you need to, take that into consideration as to whether they deserve your business or not, because you have the right to shop interest rates around, and you have the right to know how much markup you're being charged. Because if the dealership is going to charge you 2 points and you call your bank and say, well, we can get you approved at 2 points less, it doesn't matter if the bank charged you an additional 2 points. Maybe you don't even ask them that question. You go with your bank and get the cheaper interest rate. But what I'm trying to tell you is negotiating the buy rate is essential. I'm sorry, the interest rate is essential, because if not, you're going to run the risk of, I hate to say this, but you're going to run the risk of being taken advantage of, leaving money on the table. It's business. There's no emotions in business. There's no, heart or consideration for the other party. And it's business at the end of the day. And business is cutthroat. Everybody knows that. So I'm going to go ahead and end my rant on that. So anybody in the car business that is going to accuse me of, telling people that dealerships shouldn't make money, that's false. Let me go ahead and put that out there right now. That's false. Because I'll give you an example. If you've been buying cars from the same finance person for the last 5-10 years, let him mark you up 2 points, because he's taking good care of you. You know he's going to take good care of you. You know that there's not going to be any issues. But on the flip side of that, let's say you've been dealing with a dealership and your whole experience has been a headache. You're not happy with the experience. Why would you allow them to mark you up 2 points? Maybe you don't want them to mark you up none. So either you make them contract you at buy rate or you get your own loan. See, these are the types of chess moves that consumers typically are unaware of, right? So always being mindful of that. Now, everything on the right-hand side, you really don't need to worry about that because it's kind of irrelevant, but I have another document that I'm going to show you pertains to this same vehicle, to this same deal. Now, do you remember the original amount? It was closer to 35 and some change, and the bank came back and said we'll only approve them at 32.9, and we talked about the additional money that was going to needed to be put down right here in this column, 35.9 versus 32 349. Look at the cash down, the $3,000 difference. This is the amount the customer needed to put down right here, and eventually did, 46.50, right? So remember the buy rate, remember the max participation. Look at the APR right here, 19.51. So that additional point was added and was charged, right? 72-month term, total taxes on the vehicle. This is what the monthly payment was. Now, the total amount financed after the taxes and all that good stuff, 32,323.84. Look at the total interest charge, $23,174. In interest, it was almost like buying another car. But that's one of the benefits of having better credit, is that you're not going to pay as much in interest. And if you have better credit, you can definitely negotiate by rate. If you have subpar credit like this particular consumer did in this situation, you're not going to have as many options as far as financing and lending institutions taking a chance on you. But you still can ask, what's the buy rate? What are you charging me? Things like that. The last little tidbit of information I'm going to give you on why buy rate is so important. You've heard of 0.9% on vehicles or 1.9% on vehicles. And, of course, you have to meet certain credit qualifications. Again, buy rate, keeping buy rate in mind. I've seen manufacturers, and I'm not going to say any names because I don't want to imply that they do that all the time or anything like that. But if it's 0.9 and you go in there looking at a vehicle and you have, we'll say a 685 on your credit, and you're going there trying to get the 0.9, the lending institution may approve you at the 0.9, and the buy rate is going to be 0.9. It's not like the buy rate is going to be a 0% interest rate or a 0.5% interest rate. No, if the incentivized rate is 0.9, the bank is going, if you approve for it, the bank is going to approve you at the 0.9. But they're going to give the dealership the discretion to say, you know what, you can charge an additional 2 points or 2.5 points. Now, I don't know what the cap is, and it varies from state to state, but typically they're going to have a 2 to 2.5 point window depending on what the buy rate is, because as you can see on this one, the buy rate was 18.5 and they only had a 1 point window. But something lower, they may have a 2 point window. So I've seen it where a person is approved at the 0.9 incentivized rate, but the finance manager charges them an additional 2 points to make that extra commission, and justifies it by saying, well, you fell right on the bottom of that credit line and we weren't able to get you to 0.9, but the 2.9 is still a low rate. So essentially they still bumped you 2 points. And if you don't know to ask what's the buy rate and see it, if they show it to you, and I would demand that they do show it to you, because then you were just lied to, because he bumped you 2 points. You see what I'm saying? Now, that's the takeaway from this video. 2 questions you always need to ask. What is the buy rate? How many points are you charging me on interest? If you ask those 2 questions, you can be sure that you will be a more informed consumer, make a more informed buying decision, and be a lot more comfortable with the decision that you made. So again, I'm all about capitalism. I'm all about fair profit. But at the same time, I'm not about people being taken advantage of. I'm not about certain facts being, left out of the equation just to keep the consumer ignorant. Nope, I'm not about that. I'm making these videos. I wrote this book to empower you, and I hope that these videos are helpful. I hope that this information makes you feel a lot more comfortable in your buying decisions. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section below. That concludes this particular video. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget to go download the free copy of Hold Back the Consumer's Playbook for Buying a Car so you can always have the book on the go. This particular document is in the print version. It's not in the ebook version, just because I didn't really think it fit with how I cut the book down. But based on the feedback, if it needs to be in there, maybe I throw it back in there. But drop your comments below if you have any questions. Let me know. And again, check the book out, download it, subscribe, and hope y'all have a good rest of the day. I'll holler at y'all later. Peace and love.